Welcome to TradeTheNBA.com. This is John. This reports for the 22nd. New highs. Once we got above the ABM yellow, it was off to the races. Before we had the weakness with the MBI white, we suggested a move down to the ABM green right there, which would be the in-between range between the 176% on the Morganacci lines. And once that took place, buyers came in. We got right up to the ABM yellow, and then once early morning broke over, it was just off to the buy programs, and they took off. So pretty clean. Ratings still very positive from that standpoint. Turnaround the shakeout. The spider on the DOC was led by the short-term buyers a couple of days ago, and it's been pretty consistent with that. And a lot of this is just market dynamics relative to what's going on in the economic situation. NQ, from its standpoint, was a lot stronger. We never had the dip below. So when the short signal came in, it was much briefer, pretty quick, and an immediate turnaround right there. Cyan under red, you don't have to say anything else once you say that. It is worth noting that both these moves that were on positive extremes, and even to start the day, were in a positive extreme. So we know that in weakness, where we're going to be going back to. Treasuries, again, getting back to a more reasonable yield relative to where yields really are, and not what hyperbole and the dream of zero rates will take everyone to. So it's been an improvement, but still outside the actual yield that's out there. But it becomes an interesting one. If the yield starts to increase enough, that will draw some players from the market into the safety. But once we were up in these levels, there was you had no choice but to be moved to the market. Just given what inflation is and that, and inflation, while steady, is not declining. With oil at these levels, you're still at an elevated pace. It's still going to keep things outside the Fed target. Not that the Fed really cares. It's just gives lip service to that to some degree, because we all know that the way they measure inflation is very manipulated from what it used to be. But at the end of the day, you go back to your bread basket of buying milk, eggs, and certain other products. You can see the difference. That's the real inflation that most people live under, and this is the distortion that the numbers game with unemployment, all the other things is so massaged, so altered as to really not be a reflection of anything. And so we have to look at these other areas to see where there's activity and give us an idea of the real structure underneath. I've always, from an employment standpoint, always look at labor participation. I think it's always been a key element, because it really tells you how many people are actually working. And when you see that number decline and then employment rate decline, you're like, well, wait a minute, there are a few people working, yet that employment's going down. Yeah, you just delete people off the unemployment roll. Well, they haven't looked or found a job in several months, so we just get rid of them. Well, they're still out there. Still drawing on the needs of society, so to speak. From a euro standpoint, again, holding on. It'll be interesting. The euro announced, at least the ECB announced, that they're holding things steady for now. But you've got Europe, who's going to start military exercises on the border of Ukraine on the western edge, and with significant force. And this will be an interesting provocation. Russia is making strong gains in their movement, and without money coming from the U.S. At this particular stage, with the gridlock and election year happening, the reality is Europe is pushing more towards war. The announcements in Germany and several other countries talking about either 5 years, 3 years, 1 year before there's war with Russia. This is going to have an interesting play on things, particularly once people start to actually see movements, and you got to wonder, well, what is it that they're thinking? It's crazy stuff. I think at that point you start to see commodities do some really interesting things. Gold's been very muted here, still going to remain muted for the time being, and that's part and parcel to the fact that the economy is still holding on and functioning. We knew that Bitcoin, we had that pop there, the sell of the news, so to speak. We had expected all the way a fill there. There were a couple more positive extremes, and then, of course, all the way back to the original 28.9 for potential. But We had the strong white lead. The MBI Magenta faded below, then white took over again when we were at the 50, so we expected a break of that. That's exactly what took place. And I think some short-term buyer activity could be enough to keep it somewhere in range, but pretty consistent at this particular stage. Same with ETH. They're very readable now. They've been around long enough that it's no longer a shock. And this whole excitement about ETFs, it's mostly hype in my view. I mean, you've got this as a commodity. It's just easily portable versus, a physical thing like gold. But, you know, they took care of that with the paper trade on gold anyway. So what's the difference? These are just different commodities to play with. Trade them as investments, whatever. It's just speculation. From a 50K standpoint, so we started off with cyan under red, which always buy. Started right here, and lo and behold, always buy right. She works out beautifully. And we continued along, had a little bit of a rephase right here back to 76% on a little bit of softness, but never really any significant short activity to generate any move. And when we started to get some, it was under strong buying pressure and rising gold on the shakeout. And it was lights out for shorts at that particular stage, and it's pretty clean and simple. It's like, don't even have to think about that. I mean, you can see it here from a 5-minute chart. Started off in the morning, bell rang, and boom, straight up. And here in the post market, a little bit of a pop, nothing special. We've already filled the positive extremes right here for the morning. So clean and easy. Everything's plugging away. So we'll just continue to follow the readings as they are and go with that. As always, though, anything relevant, though, I'll put it on the Skype chat. Have a good one. Trade well.